live now. Are we good?
All right, we are good. Okay, sorry everybody. We had a little bit of welcome to day number 2 over here on HeroesHype for HGC Open Division North America. I am CatPeach here from last night. Also here from last night is my good friend Murda. Murda, how are you doing?
I'm excited. We got some teams here, Necrodancers and FreeBirds. They have faced off in this open series throughout the season, and tonight culminates the final cup, and this is the 3rd place match. Both these teams falling in the rounds over on the Blizz Hero stream, but right now it's Necrodancers looking to pick up 3rd place and would actually move them above Reborn into the 3rd place spot heading into the playoffs next week.
Yeah, that is kind of the biggest shakeup that we will have here today. Necrodancers kind of have that variance. FreeBirds have very much solidified their place in 2nd going into playoffs next week. So even though they lost, they would have liked to get a couple more points. They're kind of sitting nice and cozy at that position. So it's really about, can Necrodancers get that extra position up in the seeding?
Yeah, and they're going to be facing off against a destructive team in FreeBirds, who, again, all season has been playing so well. They're currently sitting in 2nd place. They have that slot locked up for the playoffs next week. But they've recently lost Dark Chimera, got added to LFM up in the HGC, and have added in Unaverted from Reborn. And they also picked up a player named Caesar Salad, who has been playing. And I mean, the question is, have they taken a step back losing Dark Chimera, or are they still worthy of that 2nd place spot? You just saw Psystorm take a 2-0 victory over them in the semifinals. So here, they're playing, just trying to get some more work in as a squad heading into those playoffs next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully, given their current position in the standings already, they have a little bit of flexibility to maybe gel a little bit more as a team after losing those couple members earlier. So at least they have, I don't want to say a vacation, but definitely a small grace period where mistakes can be forgiven. They can get on footing and start finding their flaws in the matchups that they are facing here in the final cup of Open Division. We are blazing right through this draft here with Urel and Hammerbean taking out 4 Necrodancers, Maev and Alex Straza band on the side of FreeBirds, and a Diablo first pick.
I think Diablo, this is one of his best maps, if not the best. Infernal Shrines can really go his way. Lightning Breath obviously being the pick of choice. And speaking of blazing through this draft, there is a blaze.
Yeah, I mean, Blaze with the wave clear potential, with that great solo laning on this map, I think is always a really great choice. Being able to use that bunker to protect folks from things like Purification Salvo or that Lightning Breath on the side of FreeBird, seeing that Whitemane and that Phoenix getting picked up in the 2-3. I do like that Whitemane has been seeing a bit more love since some of her patchwork has gone through, since that is the patch we are still playing on from last night as well. So been interesting to see how she's been succeeding so far.
Absolutely. And I think it's fun getting this new hero into the game right as the HGC Open playoffs are starting to kick in. You're starting to finally see where she makes sense. I don't think there's a true consensus on if she has like map specific spots that teams are going to like to play her on. I don't feel like Infernal Shrines is a terrible one for her at all. I think she could get plenty of value here, especially with that Diablo, with that Phoenix, who are going to be able to combo together so nicely with the heroics. Can Whitemane be the solution to make sure your Diablo just never die?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a difficult job for a Whitemane, but depending on positioning coming out from FreeBirds, definitely not undoable. I do like the Johanna ban here from FreeBirds, making sure there's less to disrupt those heroics later on in the game. The Jaina and Tychus coming out for Necrodancer, so lots of damage coming out from that Blizzard, from potentially either Ring of Frost or Elemental. We tend to see both here on Infernal Shrines. And the Tychus is very interesting coming out here. What do you think about that?
The Tychus is interesting. We obviously casted Necrodancers a couple times yesterday, taking wins over FWC and Divination. We did not see them play a Tychus in either of those matches. So this is our first look during this cup, at least over here on the HeroesHype stream. They played it, but they do have their Deckard Kane, and we obviously saw the attacker play Deckard so heavily yesterday. I think this is another one of those heroes that gets a ton of value. So look out for him on Deckard Kane as we see Junkrat and Dahaka, the final two picks, Freebird.
Yeah, and main tank still waiting here for Necrodancers, and it is going to be that Garrosh, so hoping to get some taunts out on that white main, on that Phoenix, making sure to really control the fights on that front line there for a little bit, really procking those targets for Jaina to throw down all that snow and get that damage in. So definitely a big threat. We still see a lot of Garrosh bans here in Open Division and HGC in general. So letting that slip through and having it come this far into the draft is quite interesting. And so hopefully it was a calculated risk that FreeBirds was willing to take and say, we know how to deal with that Garrosh and whittle him down.
Yeah, and I think actually Junkrat, how Wynn's gonna be that hero, I think we'll get a ton of value on this Garrosh. He's one of those heroes that's really never under threat of getting comboed by him, and should be able to stay far enough back. Obviously, has incredible wave clear, and will give the members of Freebirds and the entire team opportunity to get a lot of free skeletal defenders here on Shrine. So keep an eye on how Wynn, see how he can play it in this matchup. And honestly, it's the two new players, Unaverted and Caesar Salad for Freebirds. Will they be able to step into this roster and make it work, giving them the third place here in this set?
Yeah, I mean, that's ideal scenario, obviously, for Necrodancers here, or either for Freebirds, is to get that third place and at least show Necrodancers and the rest of the top 8 for Open Division that even without those two concrete players and having a little bit of a roster shuffle, that they can rebound quickly, which would make them even a larger threat than they already are going into playoffs next week. So I think that the performance here is going to give teams a lot of information of how they need to approach their games going against Freebirds in the future. And speaking of games, we're in game number 1 here, so let's get ready. Rumble. On the left, we are going to have Necrodancers. We're going to have Physicals on Tychus, the attacker on that Deckard Kane. Faye will be on Jaina, Ezreal on Blaze, and Huff Money on Garrosh.
And over on the right-hand side, we have Freebirds. How Wing going to play that Junkrat Diesel on Diablo, Unaverted on Phoenix. Fancy Pants will be playing my favorite hero, Dahaka. And rounding it out, a new player to this squad. On the white main, it is Caesar Salad.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this initial death ball goes as well. Everyone getting the sprays out a little bit early, getting the jitters out of their system. It's important to note that Freebirds is actually just coming off an Infernal Shrines game as well, which they lost against Psystorm Gaming. So I'm wondering if they have some additional tricks up their sleeve that they learned from last time around, if they were particularly upset about losing that Infernal Shrines game before. So it's interesting to have to do the same map back-to-back, and I wonder how that's going to affect their mental state and their morale going into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a team that's going to come online at level 10, having that Lightning Breath, having that Purification Salvo, being able to combo heroes, but comboing heroes, the Toss and the Blizzard are a combo here from Necrodancers as they pick up first blood here on Infernal Shrine.
Absolutely beautiful damage coming out from all members there on Necrodancers. We know for a fact from casting them last night, from seeing their games today, and just how they've been performing so far in Open Division, they are not afraid to get aggressive regardless of the situation. We have seen them so many times take fights at a talent disadvantage and seemingly win them out. Also sometimes losing them as well, so they're going to have to be kind of careful with that aggression. It's definitely going to pay off now in the early game, but late game, it gives them a possibility of perhaps misstepping if they think they can try to take an advantage that isn't necessarily theirs for the taking at that point.
Yeah, we see both teams grab their Cosmic Camps at the exact same time, but right now, bottom side is Phoenix. Hyperion's looking at this camp down here, trying to grab that away on the bottom side, but here's a rotation from Necrodancers, and Unaverted is going to have to make sure he's safe, so he gives up clearing that for the time being, and they'll have to find a new way in as he gets started for the second time.
Yeah, the brawl potential from Necrodancers is enough to say we've seen teams kind of sneak that bottom camp here on Infernal Shrines a lot in the past, even with the rest of their opposing team present in that bottom lane. But with that Garrosh, with the slows coming out from Jaina and that follow-up damage from her and Tychus, that is a lot to take in. Match that with a jet propulsion coming out from Blaze, and you're a dead Phoenix, you're a dead any member, frankly, even possibly Diablo, now that he's still having to stack his souls early in the game. So, like the patience there, waiting until they see the rotation out to pick up that camp, which now also has bottom pressure during this Shrine phase, but these camps being grabbed on the top also going to create some pressure. I like the patientness coming out from Necrodancers before grabbing it.
Yeah, so FreeBirds a few seconds behind on getting started on this Bruiser camp, but they'll be able to make it down in time. 3 seconds till that spawns, but already in position are the members of Necrodancers, and they're going to be able to get a few skeletal defenders right off the bat. Huff Money going to go ahead and activate it as the attacker going to load up the shrine with some of his potions as they await some sort of attack here from the members of FreeBird.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Hao Nguyen has that ability to poke from afar. And the thing that you can do, even if you can't really invade the shrine area, poke from afar and try to steal just a couple of those defenders away from your opponent. Try to elongate this phase so you can try to get pressure elsewhere in the map. We see the members of FreeBirds soaking in every lane right now, knowing that they're going to miss out on this first Punisher. So Hao just doing their best to cause any kind of disruption onto Necrodancers for the time being.
Yeah, it's a smart play here by FreeBirds. They know they're not going to get the Punisher, so they go ahead and just push with their Bruiser camp top. They get the wall down, and Unaverted's looking to take out this well, which will help them later on in the next Shrine phase. But for now, they're going to have to make a defense up against the Punisher. It is an arcane Punisher in the bottom lane for Necrodancers. You see it jumping over the wall. Diablo's going to get rooted in by that scroll of ceiling. But the towers are doing plenty of damage. Junkrat's going to come in here and help clear it up as Necrodancers are conceding the rest of the push, it appears.
Yeah, it's an early Punisher, so the damage hasn't scaled to impossible ends just yet. And so FreeBirds saying, we're going to take a calculated risk. We're going to allow that Punisher to push a bit and dedicate 2 members to clearing that out, 3rd coming down later, while we prepare that top lane for the next phase. That well is gone. That gate is gone. So they are set up so well for Shrine number 2 up in the top lane. And so at this point, they've got to keep up that macro pressure and try to cause Necrodancers to spread their resources thin, try to make a misstep, get a pick, and put themselves ahead in experience here as a fight's coming out here, Murda.
Yeah, Dahaka just brush stalked in, but now Fancy Pants might be in trouble. He's able to walk away, had enough essence to survive, but this camp will be stolen away. Great dodge there by Huff Money on that concussion mine. And yeah, that camp is going to be taken away for sure, and they might... Ooh, Fancy Pants barely getting out, but White Mane, always keeping heroes alive. And it ends up being a camp steal. Not a huge factor, as it should be cleared up pretty quickly by Junkrat there, but a solid play by Huff Money on his Garrosh.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not necessarily a huge loss. There is enough wave clear on the side of FreeBirds to clear that up. But it's just that presence factor, right? You know that Necrodancers isn't afraid to barge in and steal these things away. And so the members of FreeBirds simply are now keeping that in the back of their head for the rest of the game, thinking, are we going to get invaded on, even though it may not make the most sense? So a little bit of unpredictability there coming out from Necrodancers to try to get the mind game ahead on their opponent.
Yeah, bottom lane. Looks like Huff Money wants to find a toss here, but will not end up finding it. I mean, right now, both these teams, they have one objective in mind, and it's hit level 10. Neither is really looking for this fight. Actually, no, Diablo is looking for it, but it gets thrown right back out by Huff Money. We'll survive. Look at this drag. Look at this brush stock. Physical's in trouble, and into the fray, saving the day for their Titans.
Garrosh tossing friendly folks left and right, making sure they stay alive. I love the use of Into the Fray for that, because I was really worried for a second there, but all for naught. Physicals was a-okay on that Tychus. Level 10 gotten here very quickly for FreeBirds, but not too much time to take too much of an advantage, especially with Phoenix and Junkrat up in the top lane trying to prep that lane additionally for a Punisher that they're hoping to claim, having given that first one up. So we're going to have to see if they have the tenacity, the fervor to really get in there and show Necrodancers who's boss on this map.
So this is the part in the game where I think Whitemane will shine here on the Shrine. She goes ahead and picks up Scarlet Aegis at level 10. It's going to give them a lot of zone defense, picking up that extra armor when they stack up around the Shrine here. Definitely watch for Diablo and his Lightning Breath paired up with Purification Salvo from Phoenix. This is where FreeBirds comp really starts to come online.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do have to watch out for that bunker from Ezreal. It's coming out a bit early, trying to save themselves. Garrosh ends up getting in, trying to put out the damage, but the Purification Salvo paired with that Lightning Breath takes out lots of health from the members of Necrodancer. The Riptire coming in, trying to finish off a kill. Huff Money getting really low. Ezreal trying to block for them. No kills just yet, but a lot of health taken out from Necrodancers, who again, don't have that well. They're going to have to hark back, wait for a few seconds, recollect themselves before trying to go in for a second attempt off this Shrine.
Yeah, this re-engagement should favor Necrodancers as they still have their Odin, still have their Water Elemental. There's going to be a Lornado up in 5 seconds. And all they have to do is find an avenue in here and go for it, because they know everything's down on this side of FreeBirds. And here they come, CatPeach. There's Huff Money trying to hit a Groundbreaker, does not connect. Deckard's inside. He does have that Lornado available if he wants to pop it. But they're waiting on the Warlord's challenge, and now it's online as well. See if he can find anything here. There's the Water Elemental, dropping the backside, but Azariel first to fall in the fight, and FreeBirds turning it right around. Now the Odin's pop, but Physicals in a terrible spot. The Lornado's going to help separate a bit, and they should be able to back this up until the drag connects from Dahaka. A double kill for the FreeBird.
Even without all heroics up, FreeBirds coming in and commanding like we expected them to do on this Shrine. And to the efforts of Necrodancers, they came in, tried to do everything right. They tapped those wells, they took that distance, but not able to get around the massive amounts of just coordination coming out from FreeBirds here, as they're easily able to take this Shrine and hopefully have their eyes focused on this fort, taking this down. Junkrat and Dahaka already putting pressure in the mid and bottom lanes on this map. So that is threats everywhere for Necrodancers, and they're simply waiting back, trying to figure out what the best defense is in this situation.
And CatPeach, now you're seeing that early push during the first Punisher, where they had that Bruiser camp, took out the well, now allowed them to get that fort with ease, uncontested. They're even going to make a rotation here, it appears, to mid and find another wall, because we know where the next Punisher is going to be spawning. It will be spawning in this mid position, so finding this wall now means a Punisher later will help set them up. There's the big combo, Lightning Breath into the Purification Salvo, but Bunker, so good from Azariel, going to keep everyone healthy. Well played there by Necrodancer.
Yeah, Ezreal being able to hold on to that bunker a little bit longer than last time, who had to use it simply to save themselves from being wiped out early in that first team fight. But like you were saying, that early top lane pressure crept them up. Focus here onto Huff Money, going to fall dramatically quickly. Isolation going on the Ezreal now, and the follow-up is there. The tongue is coming out, and this should be a dead Dahaka, Blaze, a beautiful concussion mine coming out to make sure that Blaze does not get out of that situation. And Blaze has gone out in a blaze of fury, Murda.
He might as well just taking his hands off the mouse, off the keyboard, because he was getting thrown around everywhere. The concussion mine, the flips, the stuns from Diablo. It was too much. The drag from Dahaka. Just beautiful execution there by FreeBirds, picking up that kill. And the quick burst they found on a hero so tanky like Garrosh earlier in that engagement, just absolutely fantastic from FreeBirds, and they're really starting to heat up. On their way to level 16, they're going to steal away this Khazra camp and get to work here on this mid-4 potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And with 13 now, Necrodancers feels like they can go and get the immediate pick onto Phoenix. The focus right now is on Diesel, who does have that spell shield, so being able to take care or live through that blizzard for now. But the members of FreeBirds say, no, we are focused on you. Diablo goes down, souls are reset, and Diablo has lost that tankiness. Necrodancers trying to see if they can chase, maybe get another pick. They're going to clear out this minion wave and take that absolute win there. They really needed to defend that camp, and they were able to do it. Got a pick on the side, so everything's coming off Millhouse over here for Necrodancers.
Yeah, that looked really good for them, and just the fight they needed, because FreeBirds are getting so dangerously close up to that level 16 talent tier like I talked about. And at that point in the game, when they're down, it just makes it so much harder to come back. So they found exactly the fight they wanted, and really all set up by Huff Money. That toss, that Warlord's challenge, and the Lornado from the attacker was so good to make sure no one could get out of that choke point. Huge pickup. But now that level 16s are here, it's time for the Freebirds to have their response.
Yeah, absolutely. To note, Jaina is still, I think, not even halfway done with that Frostbite quest as of yet, so still waiting on that Ice Block in order to be more aggressive in this fight as well. But given the level 16 advantage going over to Freebirds, I'm very curious if we're going to see the aggressive style from Necrodancers that we very much know them for, where they say, YOLO, we don't care about the talent difference, we're going in anyway. Or if they want to play it safer and try to soak those lanes. Mid is kind of already neutrally soaked out. There is some other opportunity for them to get that soak advantage, and it looks like that's what they're doing, at least for the time being, kind of posturing already around that shrine. I would hate to see them go in too early and assume they can win a fight even at that disadvantage.
Already in here is the big flip. There's the taunt, but the lightning breath is out. No purification salvo yet from Unaverted. He's waiting to get that bunker, and now the bunker's down, so there's the purification salvo, but it's not enough damage. They already lost her to Haka, so Freebird's not feeling good right now, and it's gonna be a locked down Phoenix. Unaverted is dead. Odin was popped by physicals. He's gonna survive and push back the rest of the members of Freebirds as Necrodancers make their march into the shrine, and they're fighting over a frozen Punisher, CatPeach.
Absolutely. I am eating my words over here, Murda, because that is the Necrodancers we know and love. Not afraid of not having that 16 or any talent, to be entirely honest. They have such great communication skills, great coordination to try to pull that thing off, because you don't see a lot of teams being able to come in at such a down state and dominate a fight like that. And they took that without much trouble, Murda, so they are going to continue clearing these skeletal defenders very quickly, grabbing a Punisher for themselves, and trying to see if they can make up on the structural deficit that they're currently on.
And they have no wall here at mid to worry about, so this fort will be under a lot of pressure. Dahak is up top, Junkrat's down bottom, so the setup here is telling me that Freebirds, they're ready to give this fort up, and they want to fight at the keep wall, as you see the Punisher start to wail away, getting ripped down so quickly by Necrodancer.
Yeah, as this Punisher gets later into the game, we are going to see that damage scaling, so it's going to do far more damage this time around than we saw earlier. The focus now going on to Diesel, who also had the taunt on, gets knocked back by the Lornado, and Diablo ends up falling and can't help with this defense anymore. There's only Dahaka there for the front line of Freebirds. The Riptide's going to come out and try to push the members of Necrodancers back a little bit, but with a very healthy Punisher, I wouldn't be surprised if Necrodancer takes the first keep of the game here.
Oh yeah, this keeps in big trouble. Diablo still down for another 33 seconds, and with the Punisher still alive and a mini wave here, they're actually going to back it up. They don't want to fight into this Junkrat. Howwin doing such a fantastic job of just poking them away, and taking a peek over at his stacks. Taste for Explosion sitting at 77, a little bit farther behind than he probably wants, but still always a threat when you have endless nades at level 16, and they go ahead and concede the push onto core. They're going to pick up the triangle of Khazra camps here and save it for a later moment in this game to find their victory.
Yeah, they can continue to put pressure here. They were able to make up that 2-level deficit that they were facing earlier, and so at this point they feel very free going to their camps, not worrying about an invade. They're painting the map blue at this point. There's not going to be much left after they're able to gain these mercenaries here in the bottom, so they have their choice of options. They can send someone up to pair into Dahaka, try to clear that top lane. They can pick one of 2 lanes to try to escort either those catapults in that camp or the camp in the bottom. So it looks like they're going to focus here in mid and try to start a brawl. The focus again immediately on that Diablo, removing that front line. The Lornado comes out just to make sure they can confirm the kill. And that is a beautiful pick for Necrodancers.
That is twice in a row, perfectly executed on Diablo, finding that kill. And at this point in the game, he's starting to spend more time in the Hall of Storms than on the battlefield. Huge combo with the Warlord's Challenge, and you just watch how Attacker, he throws out that Lornado just to make sure there's no escape route for the big-bodied Diablo, and they find the kill twice in a row on him now. They're going to get more siege in this top lane. Punisher will be spawning here, so they really want to make sure if they win it, they have opportunity to work down another keep in that top lane.
I'm just gonna say real quick, because I feel like I've done this a couple times, where whenever Faye's on Jaina and I look at that Frostbite, and I think, it's mid-game now, and she's not very close to finishing it, and then it just seems in a couple short minutes, she is able to go from less than 50% to nearly 100% because she is just about ready to have that ice block. So props to Faye for being able to pull out the damage late game with those picks that we've been seeing them coordinate so well. And we have to see if we'll get any more of those picks. Ahaka pushing in very far there, very risky, but knowing that the members of Necrodancers were up there in the other lanes, that it was a bit safe to push that out for the time being.
Yeah, the beauty of this is both teams will be level 20 for this next shrine. We're gonna get the fight of the match coming up. Either team winning it will be getting a Punisher pushing onto a keep wall as the forts on both sides of the map are down in this top lane. It's activating, and look at this. It's going to be an Arcane Punisher up next, which, as we all know, does a devastating amount of destruction to all the structures in lane. So it will almost, in my opinion, certainly be a keep for whichever team ends up winning this Punisher, but ultimately could end up being the game right here in this attack.
Yeah, the sparks are literally about to fly. I feel this tension between these two teams just kind of sizing each other up right now. Ezreal getting up in front, trying to see if they can get that jet propulsion in, but nothing comes out yet. Huff Money with a very brief stun. Junkrat launching those grenades, trying to poke back, and both these teams are just itching for a fight. They're waiting for the opportune time to get that pick that then snowballs that fight into their favor. And Diesel goes in, gets the stun onto Garrosh, trying to get them out and as soon as possible. The Lightning Breath and the Purification Salvo coming out, but the bunker is there to save the member of Necrodancers, Murda.
Yeah, that's enormous that the bunker came out. The contagion was so good from Fancy Pants, but Blaze was just able to get that bunker down, and that's going to swing this entire thing. Whitemane now running for her life. Caesar Salad trying to escape, but it's going to get slowed down by the attacker, rooted in, and see you later. A double kill is the end result of that skirmish, and now it is Necrodancers' time to shine in the shrine. They're looking good. Odin's still here for physicals to help get some clear. They will not have it available for their core rush, but having this Punisher is going to mean the world for them in trying to get a second keep down here on Infernal Shrine.
Ezreal's got to be feeling so good again after that bunker call, getting 4 members in there, entirely negating the damage coming out, mostly from Lightning Breath and that Purification Salvo, being able to turn the fight around after popping that Odin and going in knowing that there's heroics were down. They weren't afraid of the Riptire or the isolation, and they just committed, and it won them. This Arcane Punisher pushing through top, and like we talked about earlier, this is level 20. This is Arcane Punisher. This is worst case scenario for FreeBirds in terms of that combination. So this Punisher gets baited very quickly, and FreeBirds needs to focus on taking this out as soon as possible, or this might potentially be game.
Oh, Huff Money's in big trouble. Gonna get rooted there, but Pops is indomitable. Will be able to back up Lord Nato, pulling back Phoenix, and now he's taunted by that Warlord's challenge. He will be able to back up, but Azariel with a 3-man jet propulsion, dropping the bunker, finding a kill on Dahaka. Next up could be Diablo. He's in that level 20 Lightning Breath and ends up falling a double kill, but he has souls. He'll be back as Azariel falls. Now how win? Very low, the big red button, not gonna quite be able to finish him off. The Punisher is still here, but the defense is very strong so far from FreeBirds until that huge bomb. The new connecting from physicals, finding 2 more, and that could be game, CatPeach.
I think this is going to be very close again, or actually it is. We saw that shield fall so fast. That Punisher is still wailing away with all those laser beams on the ground. Game number 1 going over to Necrodancers in that last fight. There's a couple things we got to talk about there. Number 1, the Riptire to keep Ezreal in that fight when they were trying to get out was gorgeous. The concussion mine that accidentally launched the members of Necrodancers into FreeBirds Hall of Storms was probably one of the most hysterical things I've seen since who was it? Was it McIntyre that had the concussion mine launch off the Hall of Storms in HGC? That was fantastic.
I mean, that's one of those moments where we need some instant replay technology, a lot of high-flying action, quite literally. But it ends up Necrodancers picking up the win, and you know, I was worried about Tychus not gonna have his Odin available, but it came up at the right time, and Physical was really able to swing it there at the very end moments of that skirmish, and they find themselves now sitting 1 win away here over FreeBirds to take over the 3rd place spot in place of Reborn in the standing.
Yeah, that would be quite the interesting development for sure. And let's remember that Freebirds is coming off a 2-0 loss against Psystorm. So this is now 3 losses in a row, twice back to back on Infernal Shrines. If I were Freebirds, I would definitely be shooken up a little bit. Not again, as we talked about, their standings are totally in the clear. But when we're talking about that new roster and getting these players to figure out how to play together against these teams outside of scrims, it's really important to have that performance translate. And so if Freebirds can't get a win here, I think they're going to feel on shaky ground going into the playoffs next week.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, it's obviously tough having lost Dark Chimera. They picked up 2 players. They're actually amazing replacements, and Unaverted coming over from Reborn. I was just talking about them sitting in that 3rd spot right now. But they pick up players with some experience. But anytime you get new players on any team, whether it's here in the Open Division or down in some lower competitive leagues, and it's always tough to get that sort of communication, synergy, all that working so quickly. But they're going to be able to use this cup here as sort of a training ground, building up and hopefully finding some scrims before next week, because that's really when it all starts to matter for the squads.